Today I will be showing you how to create an amazing piece of terrain that will delight and thrill your players. A massive tower done from scratch. As a GM and a world builder, I love immersing my players into the story I've created. But when it comes to combat, I am struggling because theater of the mind is not something we as a group always appreciate. Maybe that says something about me or my players, but nonetheless, there are some options out there. You can buy some terrain tiles, but in my personal opinion, from a certain point onward, they are stupid expensive. So I decided to make something cheaper, make something myself, something that will both help with the immersion and thrill my players and have for a very, very long time. So let's do something cheap and awesome. Hello all you wonderfully funky people, long time no see. How's the new year? How's it treating you? I hope it's better right out of the gate. Now, let's stop talking and start building, because this is going to be a pretty long video. Even with the technological marvel of editing, things will still take some time. But I have a list for you of things you might need, you will need when constructing the tower we are going to be struggling with or tackling. You will need a tube of Pringles or something similar. This is pretty okay. If you have something similar to this, make sure you use it, but this is the best version I found. It's sturdy, it takes a lot of punishment, you can do a lot of things with it, so I recommend using a tube of Pringles. You will need some XPS foam. Extruded styrofoam. This is the thing you really need. It's thick, it's dense, you can cut it, you can shape it, it takes a little bit of beating. It's perfect for the things we are going to do today. You will need a wire cutter or some other cutting implement. If you don't have a wire cutter, use some other cutting tool, but something very sharp, like a very sharp knife or a hobby knife or even a box cutter. Just make sure you have something really sturdy. Now you're gonna need a ruler or a tape measure. This will come in handy, of course. This is a metal ruler, it's quite sturdy. You're gonna need some PVA glue. I'm using Mod Podge. This is what I'm using. I swear by this stuff. Why is it black? We'll get to it. You're gonna need some hot glue. If you don't have hot glue gun, if you don't have it, it's not such a huge problem. The only thing is everything will take a little bit longer. So yeah, if you have it, use it. If you don't, not a huge problem, but it will come in really handy. Then you're gonna need a compass, a standard classic compass. If you don't have it, there are some workarounds it, but if you have it, use it. A lid or something circular, something sturdy, a circle of 9 to 10 centimeters or 3.54 or 3.65 inches. Yeah, I found this is perfect, it's sturdy. I'm gonna explain why you need it, but let's just say it goes hand in hand with the Pringles. Then you're gonna need some string, a piece of string, any kind of string. This is what I found on hand, but this is perfect. You're gonna need it for measuring stuff. Then you're gonna need some cheap black acrylic paint for the PVA. This is where the PVA comes into play. The reason you want to add some black, a little bit of brown, a little bit of gray, and a little bit of blue, or even red, to PVA glue or Mod Podge is because the moment you start using it, it will act as varnish, a sealer, a glue, not a varnish, a finish, sorry. And if you paint it black, you're gonna have also a primed surface ready for use. It's easier, it's better. If you have it, awesome. If you don't, it's just gonna require an extra step on your behalf when painting the surface you've covered with the Mod Podge. Then you're gonna need some paint brushes, some old paint brushes that you don't really care about. Don't use your premium stuff, don't need it. If you actually have a larger paintbrush, simple classic paintbrush, something cheap. Then you're going to need some paper towels or napkins. I have both of them. These have been used with some paint. These are classic napkins. You're gonna need paint, gray, white, a little bit of sand, ochre, black, things to paint a tower. You're gonna need some flocking. If you don't have it, it's not a huge problem, but something, a little bit of sand, a little bit of litter, clean litter, some static grass, anything you can throw at it, do so. If you don't have it, no problem, don't worry about it, but this seals the deal, this boosts the immersion. Then some water, because you're gonna need to thin down the PVA. You're gonna need a cutting surface. This has been added later. You need something you can get dirty. You're gonna need some gloves because I promise things will get messy, and you need patience, a lot of patience. Over the winter holidays, I've made 3 such towers, so I've refined the process. That's why I'm sharing it with you, so you have an easier time. I'm gonna hold this like this so you can easily go through it if you need to save it, if you need to screenshot it. If not, I'm gonna leave it in the description below. Now, with that out of the way, let's go through the things you need. I'm gonna clear a little bit of space around here. So, first off, you can take the silver lining out from inside the Pringles tube. Don't worry if there's a little bit still left. I'm gonna leave it like this. Now, throw this away. So, with the string, you're gonna measure the diameter of the tube. It's easy. You just mark where the 2 ends of the string meet. This is basic. I don't need to show you this like you've never done this before or never seen this before. But once you do this, you can simply measure the length of the tape or the string. And by the way, my Pringles tube came out at 24.5 centimeters. I don't know how much that is in inches. No, actually I did write it down. 9.65 inches. Okay. Now, this is where the XPS foam and the cutting method comes into play. You're gonna need a larger piece of XPS foam, and you're gonna need to cut it down in strips of foam of different dimensions. Now, it boils down to what you want your tower to look like. You can either go in strips of 2 centimeters in width and 24.5 in length, and then score them every 2 centimeters interval. You can go 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters. This depends on what you want the tower to look like. Or you can go in strips. These are still together in strips of 1 centimeter. Of course, this is more tedious, but I think it gives a somewhat better look. It's aesthetically more pleasing. I don't know why, but it takes longer. I'm not going to do it throughout this video with 23 strips of foam because it's gonna take too long. Oh, by the way, yeah, the height of my Pringles tube is 23 centimeters or 9.06. Well, they used to be like that. I'm gonna have to make it flush, but you get the gist. You're gonna need the hot glue. You can't use super glue because super glue has a very weird interaction with XPS foam, and it gives off some weird fumes and you don't want to be breathing that. This is where the lid comes into play, was because I want to have battlements on top of my tower. So I measured the circumference of the tower and then found a lid that is 1 centimeter wider, or more or less a centimeter wider than the tower, because I want to have battlements and machicolations. Machicolations. These are the slits in the floor of a battlement, like here underneath, where the defenders of the tower could throw stones, pour boiling water on assailants at the base of the tower. Oh, this is the best. Yeah, it's the top one. You can always calculate the diameter of the Pringles tube and then go for a compass. But the most problematic part, this is what took up most of my time while creating this tower, was actually coming up with the roof of it. I'm gonna show you two methods. One was it's not difficult, but it's more time consuming, while the second I found is more fun, but it depends on the vibe you want to give your tower. Because I've experimented a lot with my towers, I've come up with an octagonal roof made up of triangles with a base of 5 centimeters and a height of 9 centimeters. If you offset them properly, like 2 centimeters, and you glue them together, you will eventually get an octagonal roof that will match your battlement and offset it a little bit by 1 centimeter, so it's more realistic. It has a lip, so you can do all of this in one go. But after you finish your roof, which is holding up properly, I should start actually sticking this together, gluing this together, because it's going to take some time to properly set. But once we are done with the roof, you either go with shingles. These are 5 centimeters. You overlap them, so it's like this. You overlap them and then cut them to size. Or you go the other route that looks more realistic. So 1 centimeter by 2 centimeters, and you simply overlap them until you get the desired effect of a tile roof. So this is what it will end up looking like. This takes time. You need patience for this, but I promise you the result will be awesome. But if you don't want to spend a lot of time doing this because you want to have it ready sooner, or you're simply bored, the second version that I learned and I love was using paper towels or napkins. We're gonna make a leather covered roof. You're gonna love it. This is what I'm going to show you. I'm gonna make both versions of it so you get a better idea, but we're gonna stick with the leather. By the end of the video, you're gonna have a proper idea of how to make a tower, and you're gonna have an example. Now, I'm gonna fast forward through some parts a little bit because this is going to take a while. Well, I'll be damned. It works. See? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Oh, happy day. So if you have a glue gun, make use of it. Glue guns are amazing when getting into this hobby. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. So I wasted so much time the first time around doing this because Mod Podge takes some time to properly dry. And I was stuck holding panels upright while they were drying, which is not good. Not good, it's wasting a lot of time. Okay, I've added a dollop of hot glue to the other two panels of the roof just to make sure they are done at the same time as the others. And now let's get cranking. It came out quite nice if you... Yeah, for being honest, it's not half bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. Now, while this is drying properly, although it does have... No, I think we can actually take advantage of the fact that the Mod Podge has not fully cured underneath. And yeah, add some coats of Mod Podge on top of it. So let's get painting. This is actually a necessary step. Don't skip this one because the PVA glue, whatever PVA glue you're using, the Mod Podge or anything else, will again add resistance to it. It will harden the XPS foam, and as you can see, it also allows the texture to peep through, so you're not losing the texture, and it also primes the surface for later painting the colors of stone, a proper tower, right? So just, yeah, this is where the glove really comes in handy, as you can see. And make sure you add a little bit more so it seeps in between the strips of XPS foam, so it covers any kind of color that might be peeking through, not peeking through, yeah, from underneath. Yeah, just be generous with it. I don't see how you could go wrong with this step. Just be generous with it and be thorough. Just make sure you cover every inch of it. Okay, I'm gonna take advantage of that bold spot there. Yeah, make it nice and firm. Perfect. Awesome possum. Cool. Now let's leave it aside to dry while we take care of the other part, let's start taking care of the roof. I think we can use take advantage of the glue gun and continue putting together the roof. Now you need to let this dry somewhere. Find the surface, like the Mod Podge bottle. Oh, let's take care of the battlement. I've already made some tiles a long time ago. I have a video on it if you're interested in seeing how I made these. These are pretty good. They've held up awesomely, and as you can hear, they're rock hard. So I'm gonna use them and mark my tile over here. So just this and this. Like this. Perfect. So look, it's pretty, really pretty. Now see, even with the glove, I have a tendency of dirtying myself with Mod Podge. It's a skill, it's a feature. It's not a bug. Let's wait for everything to dry and we'll be right back. I'm gonna have to throw you a curveball actually. Don't stress, nothing too peculiar, nothing too hard to do. Get some tin foil, make it into a bowl, a rugged, rough bowl, and this will allow you to give texture to your dioramas, to your stone. Stone is not always perfectly smooth, especially if it's been subjected to the elements for a while. So it's better to do this now that the Mod Podge is dry, because the surface can take it. Don't be too harsh, don't be too hard on it. Just add some texture to it. Just roughen it up a little bit. That's about it. Now, if you want to go with arrow slits, this is the moment when you should start taking care of that. I'm not gonna make a lot of them, just a few, but so this will be the top of our tower. I usually count 1, 2, and on the third row of stones, I create some slits. Now I want them to be like this, nothing too large, and you can offset them because it's like somebody's going up the stairs. So you're creating the illusion of stairs going up. So we have one here, we have one here. We can make one. This is a problem because this is where the strip was sealed. So I'm gonna offset a little bit. Then go another two right here. And there's no need for an arrow slit on the bottom floor. Now, what I found to be easiest is to go at an angle, cut until I can feel the cardboard beneath, and then just cut a little by little until I'm satisfied with the opening I've made. Slightly at an angle. Perfect. Don't try and cut through in one go. You're gonna mess up your tower. Take off this part. I'm in. And there we go. We have an arrow slit. Clean up the edges a little bit. The frame. It's not looking too shabby. Go on the other side, on the inside, and make sure it's not visible. And you can cut it from here. Just scrape it off. This is what I'm doing. See, it's looking fairly pretty. Nothing too large, nothing too small. It's quite good. I'm gonna fast forward until I finish my whole row. This is what it looks like. We're gonna look at it from this side because this one is prettier. Now, I'm gonna use some Mod Podge to seal the edges. See? Perfect. Now, I'm gonna let this dry while we are talking about the roof. Now, I've made two roofs. This is the first one that I've made, and I've also created a second one that's been, well, that came out better, but as you can see, they're not yet dry. Well, at least the second one isn't perfectly dry just yet. I'll leave it on the side. Yeah, now I have Mod Podge on my desk. It's okay. Now, we have this one. Now, yeah, make sure you apply Mod Podge or PVA glue both on the outside and the inside of the roof, because this gives it even more strength. That being said, let's go to the two methods of making the roof. Now, as I mentioned, the first one is simple. I have large shingles that can go up, and then I have to cut them down to size and do this on all sides. Or I can do it the more time-consuming way, but I think the better way nonetheless. I'm gonna use the shingle version. So, first thing I do is I apply a generous amount of PVA glue on the lip and then just go in. This, as you can see, does take a little bit of time, but the end result is quite pretty, if I say so myself. If you go up, everything will come into play quite nicely. I'm gonna do this, but off camera, because this is going to take me a long while, but just know that I'm going to go up and around until everything is covered. What I do want to show you on camera is the other method. The method I really enjoy and I recommend you use if it's something that resonates with your tower. This is still drying, but it's perfect as it is. So, this method requires that you use some napkins. I hope you see where this is going. I love this method. You're gonna need some water and you're gonna need some Mod Podge. I'm gonna use a larger thingy. Oh, cool. And I'm gonna tear this napkin to bits, irregular shreds. You take your roof. You take a brush, you dip it in water. You dip it in Mod Podge. You add a generous layer. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you come in with the napkin. And you allow it to soak in everything. And then with the watered down PVA glue, you just go in and soak it through with glue. The more irregular, the better. If it bunches up, allow it to bunch up. If it has folds, even better. The weirder and the more natural texture it has, the better it will look, I promise you. And keep doing this across the whole roof. Don't go for a pattern. Once the Mod Podge and the water, the PVA glue is dry, everything will be rock hard. If you are able somehow to leave areas where two pieces clearly overlap, that's perfect, because that's a clear sign of where to place the stitches, because you're going to be painting on some stitches to make everything look more natural, more real. This will take a while to dry. This is something you have to take into account. You're gonna need to find a place. Like I'm gonna leave this overhanging like this. See? And when it's going to be perfectly dry, this will be stiff. This is perfect. This conveys more realism. This makes it look more organic. This is perfect. Now, you could, at this point, come in, and because I want to convey the message that these people actually know what they're doing, I'm gonna put a few tiles on it. And I'm gonna break them off. Give the impression that they've been the inhabitants of this tower have perhaps tried to repair it at one point, but they didn't really know how, or they didn't care enough, so they just threw some pelts on it. Now, as you can see, look, I made a well, this is going to be awesome. As you can see, this is quite exposed. These shingles are exposed, so I'm gonna use a little bit more napkin. Well, I made a mess. Of course I did. Why wouldn't I? My white t-shirt. So I'm gonna use a little bit more. Yeah, my wife actually advised me to use an apron when I'm playing around with Mod Podge, because this is not the first t-shirt I get Mod Podge on. But why would I listen, right? Why not ruin, not ruin, but mess up my t-shirt? Why not do that? So I want to do this. There are some tiles that have survived underneath all of this, or they survived and they were covered with pelts because the roof was beyond repair, beyond the capabilities of the new inhabitants, or they just didn't care that much. So give the impression that these tiles are covered by the skins, by the pelts, by the leathers. Perfect. Now all we have to do is, well, first add a little bit more because there was some see, some hot glue is sticking out. It's not a problem, we can cover it, but perfect. Now we just have to let it completely dry. Once it is dry, we're gonna add Mod Podge. We're gonna douse it in Mod Podge on the inside to even further strengthen it. And that's about it when it comes to the roof. I'm gonna finish the other one off camera, or at least show you the end result that I've already gotten with my first towers. And yeah, we're gonna speed through painting it and making everything look proper. Okay, so while everything is drying, I realize it's really late, really late. So I'm going to speed up a little bit. How are you going to set the battlement? It's quite easy. You try to center it as best as you can. Just push down a little bit so you get an imprint. Yep, you can see it. Now, you either force it down a little bit more. Yeah. But this way you're running the risk of actually destroying your tower. So what I recommend is that you carefully cut the metal ring. It's not actually metal, but it's silver, so you cut the ring off of it just carefully, making sure you don't screw it up like I did earlier with the base. Have to admit, not all Pringles tubes are made the same apparently. The ones I used last time were more sturdy. I don't know why or how or what I did, but they were so much sturdier. Doesn't really matter that much at this point. Just trying to Okay, so again, you get the idea. It's what matters. Now, I'm gonna use some hot glue and glue the battlement on top. It's not gonna be perfect, but yeah, it's not gonna be perfect at all, but I can work with this. It's something that's usable. So I'm I'm getting really tired at this point. Yeah, I'm not gonna glue the battlement to the tower just yet before I get the chance of actually gluing the battlement, the crenellations, sorry. And for this I cut, as you can see, pieces of XPS foam of 3 centimeters by 1 centimeter by almost half a centimeter. If you squish them together a little bit, you will be able to bend them so that they can sit on the edge of the battlement and follow the curvature. This is easier than it looks. I'm gonna use some hot glue for this. Last time I used Mod Podge and it took me not that long, but for a few of them I'm gonna use hot glue just to have some anchor points, so to speak, while for the rest I'm just going to add Mod Podge. More or less. And now we just go another row above, offsetting them, and yeah, after that, so we're gonna go with one more row above, not the broken one, but you get the gist, around, and then to create crenellations from place to place we're gonna glue, again offset blocks of stone. Okay, so this is the last part of this build, painting it. I'm not going to go through every aspect of painting, but just the, how should I put it, simple basic concept behind it, of course. Take some gray paint, work it in, and just apply it with a paintbrush. Doesn't matter if it's super well covered, because you're gonna wash this with a black wash, and then you're gonna come in with the gray again. And then you're gonna come in with some white and with some tan, I recommend, some sandy color. Remember that stone is not uniform, it has intrusions, it has different textures, different colors, different minerals stuck in it. This is the most basic version. This is the most basic paint schemes. When it comes to the roof, I'm gonna show you an end result because it's easier than to spend the next 2 hours filming myself paint a roof made of hide and skins and leather. So this is the point I'm gonna leave this part, and I'm gonna show you the end result that I have reached and to which I'm gonna get the tower as well. So without further ado, let's go to the end results. This is the first tower I made. It's not the prettiest, it's not the greatest, it's functional, it's nice, I really like it. As you can see, I've used a lot of flocking on it. It has moss, it has grass, it has everything it needs. But I took it a step further and created this little baby here. This is a much better tower, as you can see. This looks better. This is much better. I'm gonna do beauty shots of them at the end of this video, and I'm gonna, so you could actually see better. This is the roof I created with the tiles, the method I started here, as you can see. This is the end result. I didn't know what to cap it with, and so I used the napkin method, and this inspired me to actually create, as you can see, I've reinforced the inside. It's quite sturdy. I'm sure you can hear it. And in the end, I came up with the best tower by far. This little baby right here. I love this one. This is gorgeous. I put some blankets on top on the battlements. This is a tower that is being manned by goblins. And this is the roof, made up of pieces of hides, skins. This turns into this. This is just the beginning. As you can see, it's quite cute. I like it. I love it actually. It's one of my best works. I love it. I genuinely love it. I don't know why. It's not the best, but it's a beginning. It's the first time I use this method. It's the first time. This is hard. I'm not worried that this might fall apart. I have creases. I have everything I need on it. The other thing, the last thing I wanted to mention is that the roof, it holds up, but it cannot be held up because it's quite heavy. So I came up with cutting some pieces of XPS foam, covering them in Mod Podge or PVA glue. But in the end I realized that I needed something sturdier, so I used a table mat. I'm sure you've seen something like this. This is something for eating gun. And it comes apart. This is bamboo, I think. And it's coming apart. So I just cut it to size and used it to reinforce, as you can see here, reinforce the support beams. This holds up my roof. So I've been talking for the past 5 minutes, but I turned off my microphone, so let's recap. With this, we're done. I'm gonna add some beauty shots at the end of this video with all of the towers, including the one we've been working on today, to see the end result. And Potato's 20th name is Mother. If you don't know what I'm talking about, for the past 20 episodes I've been listing the name and titles of one of our cats, my lovely assistant Potato. If you have kept up with her names and titles and you're not part of my immediate family or close friends, write down her name and title. I don't know if you get it right. If you get all of her names and titles in order, you can choose the topic of one of the following videos. So it's a small reward for a huge effort. And with that, make sure you like if you found value in this video and enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and join this growing funky community, and make sure you hit the bell so you're notified whenever my next video comes out. And if you really want to go the extra mile, make sure you share this video with your GMs, your DMs, your friends, your pets, your family, your grandparents, everybody and anybody. And thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I truly hope you learned something new today and found some inspiration. And I can't wait to see you all funky people here next time on Funky Monkey MP, the place where you get your dose of miniature painting, history, world building, and trivia. Remember, be curious, take inspiration from the past, and never stop learning and world building and creating amazing new things, whatever those are. Your mind and imagination are wonderful, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Until next time, have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. Cheers. Hey, this is post-editing, so I just wanted to finish talking about the roof for a few moments because I've tried something new and it worked out wonderfully, and I wanted to make sure I share this with you during this video. During the recording, I showed you how to use two different methods, the tile and or shingle method and the leather method. Now, I've covered one of the panels initially with tiles and another one in shingles, but as you can see, it doesn't look all that well. First off, and second off, having two different methods of roofing on the same roof doesn't really look all that well, all that organic. So I've tried something different. I used my glue gun to glue the shingles together and then cut them down to shape to match the panels. This worked out really well and really fast, which is amazing because otherwise I would have spent at least an hour gluing each tile to the roof. But I still needed to deal with the area that I've tiled. So because it didn't match anything, I rolled with the punches and said, well, this section of the roof was damaged at one point, so I'm gonna roll with it and try to make it as if it was indeed haphazardly repaired. And this is what I'm going for, as you can see. These are the original tiles. There are some more tiles underneath, but somebody during the usage of this tower or the reclaiming of this tower decided to haphazardly repair, patch the roof to make it serviceable again. I'm going to paint the shingles in one uniform color as to indicate that this was the original roofing, while this area I'm going to make sure I highlight the wood boards. And as you can see, I've already punched a few holes in the foam to make it look as if somebody nailed the boards down. Conclusion: roll with the punches. Even if you've made a mistake, you can repair it, you can integrate that mistake into your design and turn it from a mistake, from a bug, into a feature. And because I have these gaps between the panels of the roof, I'm using the bamboo bits and pieces of the table mat I've showed you previously in the video to simply glue this down and make it look prettier. That's it. I'm going to show you the end result in the beauty shots. Cheers.